Are you, are you coming to the tree? Hey, it's Dianel. This weekend, I went to the movies. I actually went to the movies the weekend before that. I recently reinstated my AMC A-List membership because I just been like, okay, there's so many movies, but I'm also do not have the funds to watch like 3 movies a week and spend like $60 a week. So I'm just gonna get AMC A-List again and I'll just watch all the movies I want and only pay $20. So it's like I'm paying for one movie for the entire month and I can just watch as many movies as I want. And this week, I went to watch The Hunger Games, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. What a fucking mouthful. Every single time. It does not get any easier. But yeah, no, that movie, despite my feelings on the Hunger Games franchise, which I'll get into, is a movie that's been on my radar for a really long time. I've been very excited for it. I'm going to be vulnerable with you for 1 second and you're going to understand. But I'm not a big fan of the Hunger Games franchise. I just never got into it. I don't know what it was. It just missed me. I was more on the Fault in Our Stars, If I Stay craze. The Hunger Games just never really appealed to me when I was a kid. I haven't really watched the Hunger Games franchise in full. I've seen the first movie like twice and remember it like vaguely. Every single time I put it on, like I just tune out. I don't know what it is. I just can't physically get myself to intake the movie. But I recently tried during my last year in college and I watched The Hunger Games again and Catching Fire. I paid more attention. So I've watched half of that franchise. I missed it when I was a kid, and then also I just have never been a very big fan of like the dystopian genre of media. I don't know, I feel like real life is scary enough. But what I realized, especially about this film is, or this franchise I guess, is that there are a lot more similarities within this dystopian society and our current one, which is, it's always great to hear. And honestly, my main issue, I think, after watching The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, I think because I never watched The Hunger Games in theaters, that was why I never got into it. I feel like after having this theater experience, I get it. Let's review The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, shall we? Where to begin? This movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, or I think it's 2 hours and 38 minutes long to be specific. A lot goes on. Obviously, I don't have all the context, but this is a prequel, so I feel like I don't need the entire context. Forgive me if I miss some lore. I want to get started by saying that I really tuned into this movie, like not the only reason, but like kind of like a really big reason I tuned into this movie was for Rachel Zegler. I love that woman. I never really subscribed to that hate campaign that just arose out of nowhere for absolutely no reason. I feel like everything she was saying was being misconstrued. Everyone is just making her out to be this evil woman that hates everything and everyone, and I never got that vibe from her. I just think she's a little quirky like Gen Z like 20-year-old theater girl. I think she's great. I think she's really talented. I don't think there's anything off-putting about her. On the opposite side, I enjoy her vibe. That's just me. And also I feel like every single time there is a violent hate campaign against a woman for what seems like no reason, I seem to love them more. So I don't know what it is about Rachel Zegler, but she just makes her characters, she just portrays them in such a way that makes them feel like so personable and lovable, which is ironic because of her public perception of how people look at her. It's crazy. I feel like she portrayed Lucy Graybeard in such a magical way, and from the moment she was introduced on the screen, no matter how much everyone in the movie was trying to convince you that she was crazy and she was like a little off and she had issues, as soon as I saw her, I got her. Like I saw her and I was like, I get you. You're real. The whole snake in the back of I forgot her name's back, like I don't know, maybe she deserved, like I knew she deserved, like she didn't just do that for no reason. I love that she sings. I love that that's her thing. Rachel Zegler has a beautiful voice, so I can't think of like a better person to portray this role. And I just think it's so crazy how this is literally like her second major role, or like second movie role ever. But yeah, her as Lucy Graybeard didn't disappoint. Loved her the entirety of the movie. Now let's talk about the star of the show, right? Who this movie's about, Mr. Coriolanus Snow. Like I said, I was very much anticipating this movie, and as with any movie that I'm anticipating, I treat spoilers like literal plagues. If I see a spoiler, it will ruin the entire experience for me, and I consider very, very many things spoilers. Like even if it's not a spoiler, I consider it a spoiler. Like that's just how my brain works. So I was very careful on social media, but then I kept seeing things about him being bad and I was like, oh fuck. And then I told my friend who's like obsessed with the Hunger Games, and I was like, yeah, the only thing I've really seen is that the blonde guy's bad, I guess. Like he turns bad. And she's like, yeah, that's literally President Snow. And I was like, oh, that's that's the bad guy from the Hunger Games. So then I started getting it, and then at that point I was like, okay, this isn't really a spoiler. And as I learned, like the book, the story is told in the movie through his own perspective. And I think they do it in a very effective way, because the movie does a really good job in fooling you into thinking that there is some redeemable quality in Coriolanus. So it almost makes you, or it almost made me, like want to root for him at times, especially when he was like nice and like kind of like romantic towards Lucy Gray. But like you start to understand that's not that guy. He's not that. Everything that he does, everything that seems like an act of kindness that he does is merely out of like self-preservation, and like he is doing it solely for the fact that it's going to benefit him. And I think a really powerful scene was towards the beginning when Coriolanus is like writing so hard for Lucy Gray. Like he brings food to her, is like literally in the cage with them, and Highbottom's like, you're writing really hard for this girl. At the end of the day, you're not the one that gets to decide. If she wins, you get the Plith Prize. At the end of the day, that's not your call. You probably won't get it. And he's like, do you think you'd be this committed to her if you knew that you were not going to get the prize? And then he answers that he would, but he's like, you can hear the uncertainty in his voice. He kind of stutters, and like you can tell he doesn't really mean it. One of my favorite parts of this movie is Tom Blythe's performance. I think there's so many instances where you can see it in his face, like truly you can see Corio break and like kind of showcase his true identity or like his true feelings. Another time what happened was when towards the end of the movie where him and Lucy Gray like sneak up north, and Lucy Gray's talking about how trust is very, very important to her. It's more important to her than love. And then she's just trying to reassure him that he can trust her. In this moment, Coriolanus does respond. He's like, oh, you can trust me too, but he kind of says it in a like a reserved way where you can tell that he doesn't really believe that she could trust him. He doesn't really believe the words he's saying, but he's saying them anyway because he knows that's what's going to get him what he wants. The little things that like he does with this character really like drives the point home, really like getting it through your head that Coriolanus is the worst person alive. Another really standout performance in my opinion was Josh Rivera as Sejanus. He was also a really lovable character, like Lucy Gray, whose fate like just absolutely gutted me. Like that, it was just so heartbreaking. Literally all that guy wanted was to do some good with his power, because he's like from this rich family, he's from the capital, and he just wanted to be good, like truly good, and like you could feel that his intentions were good. And one of the things that pissed me off the most by far, literally this had me heated in my theater seat, was when they're both like exiled from the capital from like their involvement in the Hunger Games, the cheating, the sneaking in on Sejanus's end. Sejanus is like, yeah, like you told me, like now I can do some good here. Coriolanus is telling Sejanus that he could do good in the districts, and Sejanus is like, oh yeah, like he's gonna be like a medic. He's gonna try and become a medic. Like such a pure soul. Oh my god. Then when we find out that Sejanus is trying to help people in District 12 escape, and at this point Coriolanus has that job lined up for him that's gonna eventually get him back into the capital, which is what he wants, and Sejanus tells him this, he's like, you gotta fucking stop. And he's recording him too, which I think is vile. Like, it's like, you know, he's a bad guy, but also it's just like, I thought there was some good in you, and this is supposed to be your best friend, you know? I don't know, he's like, I'm gonna have to fucking take the fall for you, or like, you're gonna get me killed, or something along those lines. And what's funny about that is actually what happened was the complete opposite. When Coriolanus killed the mayor's daughter, who got the short end of that stick? Like, he was literally, your best friend was hung, and he was like pleading for you while he was about to get murdered, and you did nothing because all you cared about is yourself. Like, it's just a very sick individual, like just evil, like just pure evil. But then it's like, is he evil? But no, he is evil. The 4-part franchise that came before this movie proves to show you what he became. Whatever. Every single time I like actually start to think about it, I actually get angry, which just, I don't know, it just shows how this movie was so effective for me, and actually got me to care about this franchise. But now I want to get into a little bit more technical stuff, and I want to talk about the set pieces, or one set piece in particular. But I think this movie has lovely set pieces. Like, I don't think that's something that shocks anyone about this franchise. Like, they got the budget and they use it beautifully. But my favorite set piece, and this comes to no surprise to anyone probably either, is the actual Hunger Games arena. I feel like it made the Hunger Games, like the actual Hunger Games, so much, like, I don't think fun is the right word for it, but it definitely made it more entertaining, just like because it was such a confined space, but it's also so open. With the other Hunger Games movies, correct me if I'm wrong, but with the other Hunger Games movies, like the battlegrounds were so much more vast, and just this entire clunk of land. There were so many other places to like hide and run. And with this arena, like the only place was that place where Lucy Gray hid with Jessup for a bit before the rabies got to him. That was crazy. Like I knew it was gonna happen, but that was just, wow, what a way to go. But yeah, it was just like there's not many places to hide, but then Lucy Gray found places to hide, whether that was like in the actual rubble or like in the vents, which I thought was really cool. Speaking of the rubble, something that blew my mind about this movie was the sound. Like I said, I never watched a Hunger Games movie in theaters before, but holy shit, I felt like I was there. Like when the arena like blew up for the first time, when they dropped the bombs there, it shook me to my core. It was literally the most terrifying thing to ever happen. That moment, and then also when Reaper jumped at one of the Capitol kids, his mentor, that was scary. There was this girl right next to me that also just like bolted in her seat. And I think the sound was affecting her a little too much, because like when like the stuff started to pick up at some points, like she would like cover her ears, and I'm like, girl, me too. Like it was a little intense, but I was in there. And then speaking of the Hunger Games, one of the critiques I have, finally, let me talk about the critiques after I'm like, I love, because really there's not much that I don't like about this movie, and maybe that has to do with the fact that I didn't read the book. One of the critiques I do have is that I feel like it's not that the Hunger Games were just short. I just feel like the time after when the Hunger Games ended and like the whole District 12 storyline, I feel like it was clunky. Like there were bits there missing, and it was just like, okay, so the Hunger Games happened, Lucy Gray won, which cinema 101, when at the very beginning where she gets picked to participate in the Hunger Games as a tribute for District 12, and the mayor's daughter, what's her name, Mayfair, when Mayfair is like, try to sing your way out of this one, Lucy Gray, and the way that she literally wins the Hunger Games is by singing, so the snakes don't eat her alive. Like, chef's kiss. But anyways, the transition between the end of the Hunger Games and the District 12 stuff was like a little clunky, and then I feel like once the District 12 storyline hit, everything was just like fast and fucking furious. Like it was just like thing happened after thing happened after thing happened, and all of a sudden it's the end of the movie. I also feel like the switch in Coriolanus's vibe, for lack of a better word, it just seemed very sudden. Like, oh, obviously 10th time I've said it, we knew he was bad from the get-go, but I feel like there's just a time, like it's like during the Peacekeeper era, where there's like a complete 180, and he's just like not even trying to fucking hide anything anymore, and it's just like he just turns into like not a completely different person, because I guess that was the person he always was, but like there was no facade, and he was just being like ruthless. I was just like, how did we get here? Why are we not pretending anymore? The final showdown between him and Lucy Gray, when they were gonna move and live happily ever after in the mountains, was so anxiety inducing. And I just cannot believe that girl would call herself a loose end. Why would you do that? You could see his face change immediately after she said that. It's like, oh, there's no loose ends. And she's like, except for me. And she realizes that she fucked up in that moment, and she books it, as she should, because like you could tell. He's like, you're right, you are a loose end, let me fix that. Once again, I think that was just a really effective scene, and just showing us how Coriolanus is going to like take care of anything that comes in his way of achieving like his full power. Like anything that comes in the way of becoming the president of Panem, he's gonna take care of. And that's also why he kills Highbottom at the end. Like that man is not there to play. But I don't know, I feel like I could fix him, low-key. I'm just kidding. The two other standouts in this movie for me were Viola Davis and Hunter Schafer. Viola, she was so fun to see play a villain, and I loved her snakes, and I also just loved the motif of the snakes in general. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is like towards the beginning, when Coriolanus writes the proposal for the 10th Hunger Games, and his little partner, Clemencia, did not really like that woman. Not gonna lie to you. When she's like trying to take credit, Dr. Gall's like, oh really, it's funny you say that, because like if you did, you can go pull out the proposal from the tank and it'll actually smell if you sweat on the paper, and if you didn't, they'll bite you. By the look on her face, you could tell she fucked up. And then she still went, she couldn't even be like, oh JK, she still dug her hand in there. These Capitol people are all crazy. And then on the other hand, Tigress, she was just ethereal. I think I don't know, because once again, I don't really remember the 2 Hunger Games movies I've watched. She just seems like such a lovely person. She's like, you know, like when we're like, oh, eat the rich, eat the rich, eat the rich. Like, not Tigress though. And I think it has all to do with like Hunter Schafer's, just her persona and her overall vibe. And I just wish there was more of her, to be honest. I'm also just obsessed with Hunter, so there's that. Overall, I mean, I gave the movie 4 stars on Letterboxd. I really liked it. It was beautifully shot, which was not a shocker considering it is a Hunger Games movie and those movies look crazy beautiful. And it had amazing performances. Hello Tom, hello Rachel, hello Josh. Y'all ate. I just want you to know y'all ate. I see the reviews. I think it has like 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think the audience score is higher. On like TikTok and stuff, I see mixed reviews from audiences being like, I don't know how I feel. And I feel like a lot of the discourse is just like having the context. But like literally, as a person that didn't read the book, a great movie to watch. Very captivating. It was very like heartbreaking at times. I just felt for the characters in that movie. Even for fucking Coriolanus Snow at sometimes. Like, it was effective. Shit. Sue me. But no, I thought it was a really good movie. And it actually ignited a fire in me to actually actively watch the Hunger Games franchise. So there's that. And I'll keep you guys updated. Maybe I'll do one of those ranking videos for the Hunger Games franchise. But before I wrap up this video even further, speaking of Letterboxd, the Letterboxd is such an interesting place. And I love the reviews people leave on there. Because sometimes they're so out of pocket. But like, phenomenal. And I just wanted to take this time to read a few to you. Someone said, never trust a man during his buzz cut era. That's literally when I said like he did a complete 180 during his buzz cut era. Crazy man. Men have one bad breakup in high school and make it everyone's problem for the rest of their life. Caught myself getting upset when the bad guy I know is bad turns out to be bad. No, because literally, like, what do you mean you're bad? I thought you were like changing with the movie. It was never supposed to be this way, and yet you failed me. How dare you, Coriolanus Snow? Someone just did the she believe he lied. You know, Sejanus wanted to kiss Coriolanus so bad. I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I feel like the proof is literally in the pudding. Something about me is I'm always gonna see a queer subtext in something. If villain bad, why sexy? Like, just asking the pressing questions. Okay, this one says, if I hear that girl sing one more song, I ate up every single thing she sung. I'm sorry. It was literally music to my ears. Literally what saved her from dying. Like, you best believe I'm gonna sing all the time. Oh my god, this comment literally just reminded me of one of the like craziest scenes, which was like right towards the end, and it's Tiger's scene, so I'll talk about it a little and that's how I'll end the video. But at the end, when he like dresses up and he feels all powerful, it's like right after he kills High Bottom, and he asks Tigress, how do I look? And she says, like, literally like with fear in her eyes, you look just like your father, Coriolanus. Give Hunter Schafer her Oscar right now for that literal one line. I don't care. I make the rules, actually. Academy, are you listening to me? And she had the right to be scared. And that's where we're gonna end it here, folks. Let me know what you thought of this movie in the comments. Give me some of the book lore that maybe I didn't catch. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you want that ranking the Hunger Games franchise video, because I will make one of those. And yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.